Hello all, welcome to Shatter Our Souls. Today, we are tackling the final episode of Dead Charge. Now, when I was playing Dead Charge as a whole, I was very impressed. I have loved every single mission in many ways, and can definitely see the love and care that was put into this game every single step of the way. But this mission, more than virtually any other, really showcases what Basement Dweller Games was aiming for. To the point, well-designed indie gaming. That is what you pay for when you buy from Basement Dweller Games. But more than that, I want to do a little bit of a dissection on this final level here. Because if I'm being honest, there are very few levels in all of gaming that scratch that itch the same way that this one does. So, starting off, I want to acknowledge that there are bits and pieces of every mission showing up here as a, hey, yeah, this is kind of what we're looking for. You have the saw blades that showed up in the scrap factory. You have the pipe grinding that showed up in the extra mission for the neon nightlight. But you also have lasers, which are admittedly brand new to this level, that are reminiscent of the flame pillars you see in the hydraulic highway. In many ways, I feel like this is the culmination of years of work. That game design for the individuals who made this one specific game tried to pull out all the stops for this finale. A no-holds-barred challenge mission of sorts. More of a gauntlet style mission comparatively to other missions throughout the game, where other missions focus more heavily on completing smaller objectives, getting from point A to point B as best you can given the circumstances. This one looks at trying to break that trend slightly by really reinforcing long-term play. Oh, wow. There's death number 2. Long-term play and repeatability. But in many ways, this is also the most focused level, I think, in this entire game. And to explain what I mean by that, I want to kind of turn attention back towards the Hydraulic Highway Act 1. Hydraulic Highway Act 1, every 30 seconds there was a diverging and converging of pathways. And this made the levels feel a bit more like Sonic, where there was always an option, there's always a path, there's always a way forward. But what you choose to take dictates your difficulty, and in many cases also dictates how fast you will be able to complete the mission. This, I think, is part of the inspiration behind the level design of the Act 1 missions. But to me, this doesn't scream Sonic. This looks more like a recreation of a Mega Man mission. Specifically, I'm getting vibes of Flashman stage from Mega Man 2. And the idea of it being very precise, you know what you're getting into from point A to point B, and you have to do so quickly and precisely. You can't make any mistakes in your run, or you're going to be in hot water very easily. That's the vibe I'm getting here. And maybe it's an inaccurate vibe, I don't know. But I will say that I greatly appreciate the intent thrown into this mission. By and large, it has surpassed my expectations and then some. Anywho, we're getting on a little ways, 2 minutes in, which means I think I'm getting close to the end of the mission. I think. We can only expect so much, right? Now, if I were to kind of put a label on this game's kind of play style, it would be very simply easy to learn, hard to master. And, with that easy to learn, hard to master play style, I'm referring to the fact that this game has a lot of easy to identify and understand mechanics. The lasers only activate when you're directly in front of them, for example. But in other cases, there are bits and pieces that, okay, which door does this switch open? What am I going to get out of this? Can I nail every single one of these aerial jump kind of mini challenges, if you will? The answer is consistently, well, absolutely. The game is designed around being a speedrunner friendly game. And you can tell just by how each subsequent run, well, it took me 2 minutes to get to the bottom last time. I'm betting I can cut that down to about a minute 45 on a subsequent run, just because I understand what I'm getting into, assuming that I actually am able to defeat the monsters or the other robots that are plaguing this area. And that's the beauty of it, is that easy to learn, hard to master type games are intended to be played more than once. They're intended to showcase that you are capable of picking up the game at a later date and saying, yeah, I did this time, but how much faster could I do it next time? The scoring system is very heavily tied to the speed at which you beat each mission. Keep forgetting that middle one's there. And so, you know what? I will take it. So, each time you go through, each mission you complete, you're going to be completing at a slightly faster rate than the previous time you attempted it, generally speaking. And you can see this throughout the game and its design, actually. I've found that certain missions really lean heavily into this speed-first mentality. But with the mission complete, it's time for... Well done. Thank you for your service. With the nuclear impact imminent, your mission has been recorded as a success. Due to your previous failure, however, a new model of the Line of Light droids has been under development and completed, Light Mark III. As your model has become outmoded, please stay stationary during impact. Thank you. Update mission. Remain stationary for imminent impact. Set self-preservation? No. A mission update, self-preservation set to binary code. Okay. Mission error. Conflict with null self-preservation module. Cannot reroute mission to disqualify max self-preservation. Mission rejected. Defaulting back to maximum. So, it looks like we're starting exactly where we were before. Except we are now escaping? I kind of like the vibe here. 215 in the corner. I don't have the constant draining health anymore. Okay. So there's a few things going on here that need to be brought up. The first is that this mission, we're taking a separate route back through it as a goal of getting out of this mission. Secondly, the 15-second timer has been replaced with about a 2.5 to 3 minute timer, with the goal being, don't die. Got it. I think the entire point of this is that Light had a glitch that prevents it from destroying itself effectively. Having been stuck at high self-preservation for as long as it had is likely messing with its original programming. And the health no longer draining suggests that we are now dealing with the circumstance where the nuclear energy or nuclear device has been absorbed by Light, effectively repairing Light's battery. I think that's the vibe that they were going for. And I got lasered. It's okay, I still got a minute and a half. It can't be that bad. And what I'm liking about this segment is that it's actually reminiscent of an entirely different genre. The, whatchamacallit genre. It's the Metroidvania. Specifically the Metroid franchise as a whole, which has, on average, at least one escape sequence per mission, or per game. And the escape sequences are usually the most bombastic, most over-the-top segments in the entire game. But what I'm liking about this is that at this moment in time, this, after having completed the mission, is the strongest light has been, or I guess now Mark II, has been since the beginning of the game. Effectively, the tutorial was the only other time where the mechanics we're dealing with have been dealt with at all. So there is a little bit of, I suppose you could say, a little bit more breathing room. I think I'm hoopla'd here. But we're gonna keep trying and see what happens. And I gotta say, I'm definitely liking the vibe change. The point of this game has always been based on speedrunning, on planning ahead, on working on improving every individual action to really refine your movement. And refined movement, making the most out of every single second of gameplay, is entirely the point of this type of game. And so, I can honestly say that this makes a lot of sense. And definitely is deserving of the final mission of the game. And with that little pep talk out of the way, I've got 30 seconds. I should have plenty of time to get out of here. This is one heck of a long haul. Okay. Well. Oh. This is reminiscent of the first mission of Hydraulic Highway. I'm kind of terrified of what this is going to look like. And with 10 seconds remaining, I'm pretty sure I'm dead. And so we're going to start this back up from the top. Because there's no way I can reset this. Yep. Impact was made and mission failed. Alright, let's speed things up a little bit, shall we? There's a feeling I get when I play these where there's this sense of satisfaction from each individual run being better than the last. And I think that's kind of the point. I have always said that I am not a speedrunner. Never have been, never will be. But playing a game quick for the sake of just the gameplay loop being quick, that I can get behind. Yeah, I'm not liking the looks of this. I can get behind playing the game quick. What I struggle with, however, is the fact that if I am trying to break the game over my knee in order to prevent having to watch a cutscene, that to me is entirely losing the point of the game as a whole. Now, I am well aware that the individuals who choose to speedrun games choose the games they choose because they love the game. But I argue that a game being broken in this type or in that type of environment doesn't really do much good for the game or the community as a whole. I will, however, say that speedruns are incredibly entertaining to watch, but I often find that it loses the point of these old games. Now, to be clear, this is just that I personally don't like speedrunning. I can respect that there are those that absolutely love speedruns and speedrunning. And those individuals are made of a fair bit sterner stuff than I am. Okay, so we made it to the top of that hall there. Just a little bit further. And maybe I entirely missed the point of speedrunning, who knows. What I can say is that I really need to stop panic pressing buttons here. Overall, I think that this is the penultimate challenge. It's longer than any of the prior challenge missions were, I think personally by design. It's meant to be more of a gauntlet than I think the prior ones were, where the other ones were far more precise in what they were aiming for. This feels more fair, but much more in the line of the high-speed gameplay style that I was informed the game would be reinforcing over the duration of its run. Okay, and 123, which puts us 20 seconds faster than last time. So we are making fantastic time. And if we can get to the top of this with more than 20 seconds to spare, then we are doing great. Okay. And panicking, and we are not going to make much more distance, I think. We are actually going to make it further with more than 20 seconds to spare. I am impressed. Awesome. 40 seconds left. And I am not liking the looks of these flames. Ow. Okay. So... oh, this is a lot farther than I had anticipated. And death. Well, good news is we have infinite lives. I think, personally, though the game is rather on the short side, I think that means that I would, assuming I'm playing the game again at a later date, it would more or less come down to refining the techniques and really digging into the aspect that I tend to avoid, being the speedrunning aspects, and really trying to aim for high scores, such as lower times and taking different routes to see what really ends up being the fastest route. Because I'll admit, the routes I generally ended up taking were often off the beaten path simply to try and get as many of the coins as possible. But when the coins aren't a problem, what is my next real push going to be? And we are looking at being significantly slower than last time, but we'll hopefully make up for that time by making it through the gauntlet of the grind rails with more than 40 seconds to spare. Hopefully. And we're looking pretty good so far. And yeah. Oh, yep, there it is. And we gotta keep trying. I refuse to just give up. That's not my style. 47. And so I am officially at the point where I'm gonna make it about as far as last time. Assuming I don't burn myself again. I think one of the bits that makes this more... how do I want to word it? There are numerous older games that I consistently turn around and say, this is the game that I was thinking of. Hey, look, we made it farther. And one of them is just good old Mega Man. Others include old Mario Bros. Others include, just in general, the Sonic franchise. I'm getting vibes of a lot of different 2D platforms and 2D platformers and how they each approached game design. And I think that's a great thing for this particular franchise, because this game takes inspiration from everywhere. But I don't think I've ever played a game that quite does the high-speed gameplay the way that this does. Where Sonic incentivizes high-speed gameplay and wants you to go into the high-speed gameplay, it never actually pushes you to learn how to be capable of that level of high-speed play. It incentivizes it. The devs wanted you to do it, but they don't actually teach the player, hey, this is what you're kind of expected to master to make this happen. And I think this, as a stepping stone into learning speedruns as a whole, definitely is a good starter. Anyways, we are at 1 minute and 20 seconds getting into the grind rails at the top, which means we are looking absolutely ridiculously ahead of schedule. In fact, 20 seconds faster than our prior attempts. So, if there was an attempt that would be a success, this is the one. And honestly, with this whole circumstance that we're running into, I suppose now's a good as time as any to dive into Light Mark III. Now, I mentioned during the Scrap Factory that I believe that we had seen Light Mark I robots, the little kind of canine-like one. It makes me wonder what this new model is and whether we will get to play as it or battle it. Okay, Nuclear Zone 405 with a good time. That's terrifying, because if that's a good time, then what is a great time? Oh, what do we got here? Out mode. You have defied our orders. Autonomy is not part of your programming. Do not continue further. Light Mark III has been dispatched to dispose of you. The new model is unable to be willingly absorbed. Your fight for survival has been deemed futile. You will not make it back to the mainland. This is the end. Okay. So apparently we get to meet Light Mark III? Okay, Light Mark III, I'm not seeing any eyes on. And it seems to be able to launch saw blades at me, which is definitely a significantly more dangerous entity. But I didn't really get a good look at the character either. It looked like it was kind of the head of Mark II on a saw blade style wheel. And if from my perspective, it almost looks a little bit like a Velociraptor, but it could just be limitations in the code and hardware. Okay, I think I did a little damage there. I'm not liking my odds of surviving this. So, with this, we officially have a boss fight, something that up to this point I haven't actually had at all in this game. And I think I'm not entirely sure what I think of it, to be honest. The boss fight itself seems relatively simplistic. Learn its patterns, bonk it a couple times, and hopefully it shuts down. But I'll be honest, I'm not sure what shut down is going to look like. For now, I'm going to try putting the pressure on and really diving into battling this beastie. And we'll see what happens from there. Now, knowing that we're battling Mark III, there is grounds that we're going to have a sequel here. As it's either Light Mark II wins its freedom, or it doesn't. Correction. It either wins its freedom and the game continues as if, hey, congratulations, you are heading home. Or it doesn't, in which case you're on the run. Either way you look at it, Mark II kind of has a bit more of a story to tell. Whether or not I'm good enough to tell the story is an entirely different piece of information. Anyways, I'm gonna get hit by another saw blade in 3, 2, 1. Where's the saw blade? Oh, there it is. And... oh, I'm actually doing way better than I was thinking at dodging those things. Personally, I like the idea of the battle itself. I feel like part of it is just going to be learning how to manipulate the AI to do what I want it to do. But learning to manipulate AI is something that I am not exactly well versed in. Okay. Is this actually working? Yeah, we're about to find out. Oh. Light Mark III. Come in, Light Mark III. Your connection has become unstable. Respond immediately. Has the outpost been destroyed? What's your status? We need a mission update. System status. Critical. Connection override. Hijacked. Initiate. Testing. Failure. Testing. Failure. Testing. Failure. Testing. Failure. Testing. Failure. Testing. Success. Rebooting communication override successful. Third-party hijacking. I'm coming home. What's happening? Your advanced communication module is damaged already? Unless you're not. I'm coming home. Don't stand in my way. And with that, Dead Charge is officially complete. If you like what you've been seeing, I would love if you left a like, a subscribe, and I would love if you checked out Basement Dweller Games. The game is available on Nintendo Switch for $2.75 and able to be wishlisted on Steam. But for now, that is everything. I hope you have a good one. Until next time, have a good one.